Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle here from happyhealthyher.com. And in this week's compassionate chat, we are talking about the antidote to jealousy. Jealousy tends to be a negative energy. It tends to really kind of bring us down and be very draining. But the antidote to that is vicarious joy, which is just a fancy word for saying that we are happy for other people. It's genuinely tapping into the beautiful power of joy by being happy for other people's successes just as much as we would be happy for our own. It's such a powerful way to pick up your spirit and to feel better. And it can be done so easily. It's just a matter of shifting your mindset. So my story for this, the ability to understand vicarious joy goes back to my early 20s. Now, before that period where I was really starting to do a lot of self-exploration, I had a tendency to be a little bit jealous of other people. I would see other people having great successes or having more money or doing better in sports or whatever it happened to be. And I would feel this twinge of just desire for those things and feeling like, how come I don't have that? Or even if the person was not especially nice, I might feel like, hey, well, they don't deserve that. And so I had this sort of dialogue going on that was really negative and never made me feel better. I mean, going into that state of jealousy is not positive ever. There's no value to it whatsoever. So in my early 20s, I started to realize that if I instead shifted and found other people's successes and wins to be something that I celebrated and that I enjoyed and appreciated, that I could feel just as good as they did. And I truly embrace this with at least especially my closest, my friendships, my family connections. When something would happen for another person, I would genuinely be so happy for them. And the body does not know the difference when it comes to emotions and energies. It doesn't know the difference between you being joyful for someone else's stuff or you being joyful for your own stuff. Energy is energy, and the positive energy of joy is extremely uplifting. And this is why a lot of times I focus on joy in my work. I have a free joy guide. I'm actually going to link to below. It's totally free. I offer it literally because I want people to have more joy. If we can have more joy in the world, the energy of the world will be better. People will be happier naturally. People will be healthier naturally. It really is that powerful. So if you want that free joy guide, it's going to be linked below. The other thing to know about this is this has real scientific ramifications. David Hawkins actually has something that he calls the scale of consciousness. I'm not entirely sure how this was tested, but there is some very clear logic around this. And joy is one of the highest energies in the scale of consciousness, which makes it help us to propel our energies up. Things like jealousy, grief, fear are quite negative and they pull our energy down. And so anything you can do to eradicate that kind of negative energy and push up the positive energy is going to be super powerful and helpful for your health. So the reason I even came up to the decision to do this video is because I just attended a party yesterday with one of my friends, one of my partner's friends. I had never met this couple before, but they've just bought this beautiful home and it's out sort of in the rural area and it's so picturesque and just perfect in many ways. And it was so exciting for me to see these people coming into a new space and like realizing how awesome that must feel. And we sat out in the backyard and there were hydrangeas everywhere, and I absolutely love hydrangeas. And there was a different type that I'm not normally see. They're kind of like, they were like trees, and they had kind of like a pine cone shaped blossom. And they were absolutely magnificent. And the coolest thing is on the drive there, I was commenting to my partner how I had just seen a hydrangea tree like this in bloom recently when I was out running errands or something, and I was trying to describe it to him. And as soon as we drove up the driveway to this home, they had one in the front and it was in full bloom, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And it almost felt like I had manifested this, into our experience. So it is a very, very powerful energy, and it really does help us manifest if you can be in a place of joy and enthusiasm for other people. So I went to bed last night just feeling great, just feeling happy for other people, just feeling happy for having been with a group of people who were happy for each other. It's a really lovely thing to sort of bask in. As an aside, though, there's a dark side, of course, to not having this vicarious joy. There's a lot of jealousy in the world, especially if you're on social media. You see people saying really spiteful, really mean things about other people's successes and about other people's enthusiasm. And so I don't think we can talk about this one topic of vicarious joy without talking about the other, the dark side of it. Jealousy tends to be something that narcissistic people cling to. Now, if you followed my channel, you know I talk quite a bit about narcissistic abuse because this is something I have had a substantial amount of experience in. And one of the things that I know to be true about people who are narcissistic is that they do not celebrate other people's wins. They are not happy for other people. They are extremely jealous, very competitive. They seem to see joy, love, success, any of the positive metrics as finite, almost like they're pieces of a pie. And they need all those pieces of the pie. But the truth is, joy, love, even money and success in many ways are infinite. It's a matter of, like, we can build these things, especially joy and love. They're self-generated. So the idea of seeing these things as finite is really damaging and quite sad, actually. And so anyone who is narcissistic, who happens to be watching this, if you happen to be in this headspace today, I hope you will consider the fact that embracing a different energy of joy is so much more powerful and so much more rewarding on a general day-to-day basis. So in my experience, I've actually had a lot of jealousy and what you'd even call like shade thrown my way. When something good happens to me, it's very common for me to feel very run down, feel very sick. Sometimes even when I post these compassionate videos, I will start to feel really sick. And what I realize is that there are people watching the videos, they don't like what I have to say, or they don't like me for whatever reason, and they're sending me that energy. Please don't do that. Please, 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 if you're watching people on the internet, if you're following people on social media, please try to keep your energy neutral or positive, because sensitive folks, and we're all a little bit sensitive to some degree, will actually feel that negative energy. I have felt it many, many times in my life, and it's really debilitating. So I just wanted to tell one story about that, that is probably going to resonate with a lot of people. About 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe more like 15 years ago, I was participating in a class that was on finding your life purpose. And there was about 15 of us adults, and we were all sort of in a headspace of, we're not sure what to do next with our lives. We weren't sure if we were in the right career. This is when I was doing a lot of freelance writing, but I wasn't sure if that was really what I was supposed to be doing. And so this class came along, and it was free, and it was such a gift, and I was super excited to join it. And so I went with actually a dear friend. And on the first class, we talked about sort of the principles of finding your life purpose and what that might feel like. And we actually talked a lot about joy and how to kind of get yourself into that state. And in the span between that first class, we had a break, I think of like a week or two, and I happened to go away. And while I was away, I was doing a lot of work around trying to explore life purpose things and what was going to make me happy. And I actually at the time was saying to a friend, I said this out loud, and a lot of times what we say out loud I think has even more power. I was saying to them, I really wish that the magazine that I used to write for, the editor, would contact me with some new assignments. I haven't heard from them in a while, and I'm feeling really insecure about maybe they didn't like my writing, and maybe I should just go ahead and contact them myself, because maybe something, maybe they forgot about me. Maybe, there could be some reason they haven't contacted me that doesn't relate to my work. So I was talking myself through this process, and the following Monday, this was like a weekend, I think I was having this conversation, I get an email first thing in the morning from that editor saying, hey, I'm sorry I haven't reached out to you. I'd love to have you do some assignments for some upcoming publications. And I was just over the moon. I was totally floored. I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so exciting. And so, of course, the following class, when we were going around the room, and which is what we would do, we would share as a group around what we had kind of uncovered over the past week in our own self-exploration. I shared this story of how fantastic it was to get this email and get this assignment. And everyone in the class, most everyone in the class was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. That's such a clear indication of what this work can do for us. And people were mostly excited. My buddy who I attended was like patting me on the back, and she was super excited. And it gets to this woman who's sitting sort of diagonal from me, and she is just staring at me, and she goes, well, I hear her story, and all I can think is, why can't I get writing assignments? Why isn't that my story? I want to be a writer, and this just frustrates me. And I was like, whoa. I mean, it was so negative and so strangely like dismissive, and but at the same time, it was kind of like, I think you just answered your own question. Like, if you come at something, anything, with that level of negativity, with that level of almost like grabbing, almost like, if I want that, you can't have it. It wasn't like she was celebrating with me and, hey, maybe we can figure out how I could have this success too. It was more like, I want what you have. I don't like that you have it, and I don't. And this woman actually reached out to me and wanted to be a professional connection online, and I begrudgingly did connect with that person. And to my knowledge, they never did actually go on to do any writing, and it did not surprise me, because if you actually hold that kind of dark energy in your heart, if you hold that kind of intention of spite and anger toward other people's success, it's far less likely that you're going to have a free flow of positive energy into your life and your own successes. That's just kind of how energy works, at least in my perspective. So I just wanted to do a quick one this week, a quick talk about this. I think it's a really powerful topic. It has been really, really helpful in my life to be able to be happy for other people. And I hope that this might shift you into thinking about doing this yourself if this isn't something you are already doing. I know a lot of my friends watch these videos, and I know my friends do this for each other. They do this for me, and I'm so, so grateful. So this message is not necessarily going to sway a lot of you all, but hopefully it'll help to be a little reminder around the power of supporting each other and honoring each other's joys and successes. So as I mentioned, if you want the free joy guide, go ahead and link to that below. You will be asked for your email. I promise you, I do not spam. I hardly ever email. I do it like maybe once or twice a year just as a touch base, but I'm not someone who emails all the time. The guide is 100% free, and it's because I really want to spread this information into the world. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe if this kind of content of self-help and positivity is feeling good to you. As always, I wish you happiness and good health, and I thank you for being with me.